thing that's often asked, who's in control? Who's really in control? We know it's not the governments. We know that they're just the puppeteers, the front men who deliver the information that the people who are really in control have. But it's not one big bad guy. It's not some baddie, some Bond villain. It's an accumulation of different people within the theatre of control. It's the media. It's the big banks. It's the intelligence agencies. It's the corporate-driven, profiteering megalomaniacs that run the huge corporations that we've become to depend on, like your Amazons and your BlackRock. Your BlackRock basically owns all the manufacturers that you trust, that are split up into different logos, from Coca-Cola to Nike. It's all owned by the same people, same corporations. Bill Gates and Big Pharma. It's all the same people driving the same narrative. They can afford lobbyists, and lobbyists are paid huge amounts of money to influence governments who create the legislation that's more suitable for huge corporations. So it's not one big bad guy. It's all these people working together with one common denominator: control and money, profit. But what they've done, they've tried to create a soft police system. In other words, we don't need police, so we'll deplete the police, the ones that we really need, to go out onto the streets and fight the real criminals. Because the real criminals, people that attack you and mug you and knife you and rape you and come up behind you, the real criminals, they're not bothered about them. They're not bothered about the shoplifters. That's up for us. That's just something we'll have to live with. They'll never have to live with it. Jeff Bezos is not going to come across a mugger as he gets on a private jet to go to his own wedding, along with the 96 other private jets that will be landing to go to his wedding. Trump's refused, by the way. He hasn't gone because he's running a country. That's the difference. So with this soft control, they've brought in technology to control a smartphone, which is a surveillance. It's a surveillance device. Smart TV, smart meters, it's all about surveillance. They thought they had us with it. They thought they got control. But unfortunately, because their confidence was running so high during the lockdown period, when they thought everyone would comply, unfortunately, a large number of people did not comply. They questioned everything, the mandates, they questioned the lockdowns, they questioned the reason you wore this, they questioned everything. And some people were so defiant, they were even prepared to lose jobs they'd been in for years. So I take my hat off to the care workers of Great Britain who stood by what they believed in. And unfortunately, the Together Declaration and demonstrations kicking back against the mandate that they had to suffer wasn't actually enforced then. But by the time they tried to create it for the National Health frontline workers, the nurses and frontline health workers got together with Together Declaration and pushback, and the mandate had to be dropped. You know which one I mean. So what's happened, people are missing out on the fact that the revolution, whatever you want to term it as, is actually happening right now. We're in the middle of it. This is it. Because the bad guys actually won. The bad guys got into power. The bad guys did it in a soft format with the Tories, and then they've gone more hardcore with Keir Starmer. They just passed the baton over to the hardcore party because they're not really conservative people. And they've got the ear of the king. The king is, weft through and through. So you're not looking at us in a powerful position as in we've got power. You're looking at this is the pushback. It's happening now. They've got who they want. These people, this consortium of people from the intelligence agencies to the media, the corporations, the big banks, the dynastic families like the Rothschilds and Bilderbergs, the rest of them, all these people they've pushed the button too soon. And what's happened, whilst they've got all these puppets in place, like your Mark Carney's in Canada and Jacinda Ardern's now left New Zealand, but the ones in Australia, the ones in Great Britain, particularly Great Britain for us, it's not going to work because everything that they set up to control us with, we've used as a tool to push back. They certainly don't need to create a fake third party to give us something to vote for. You've got to remember, they don't care what you think. We do not even factor in their brains one iota. You've only got to look at how even politicians create their own environment and just move forward doing what the hell they want without consulting us. Starmer, a clear example, bypassing Parliament with everything he does. Even his own MPs are sick of it. But what's happened? We've used all these tools to push back because the ones we didn't want, we rejected. And then as some people rejected, more got involved. So as they tried to reintroduce them again, we didn't fall for the digital health passport from Matt Hancock, did we? We should have all had one of those by now. We should have all had one of these in our arms, but we didn't. And you need everyone in or no one's in. And they don't need to create a third party to give us something to hope for, something to believe in. You've got to remember, they don't care what we think and they don't care what we believe. They've bypassed us already. We are this livestock on a tax farm. That's all we are. Our opinions don't count. All that matters is that we behave ourselves, keep working, keep paying the taxes, then they can keep siphoning off and spending it on what they want, be it the military industrial complex, foreign aid, anything that they want to spend the money on. But the pushback is happening right now, and it's happening at ground roots level, and that's the best place it can start. There won't be anybody barricading like they did in France in the French Revolution. There won't be people like that. There will be people pushing back from their ordinary position in life, talking to friends and neighbours, putting a tweet out, putting a Facebook post out, writing to an MP, push, push, push all the time, and it's working. And this is what, you must have faith in what's going on now, because this is part of the pushback. Together Declaration are already onto it with the digital ID. They've got a digital pushback going on. You see, when they brought in all these tools, and especially recently with AI, they didn't expect us to use it for ourselves. What they can't keep up with is information is travelling so fast on social media from one person to another that even people on Twitter, since we've got to take our hat off to Elon Musk here, since he opened Twitter up, information is travelling at warp speed. It's unbelievable. The bullshit that we used to have to suffer and take off the mainstream media is now unravelled literally within minutes of it coming out. And the counter narrative, the counter argument is out there for other people to share. So I am quite pleased with how things are going. I'm not happy that Starmer's in power, but nobody seems to be happy that Starmer's in power. The far left are actually disgusted with how he's doing things. And what you've got to remember, all these agencies that work together, the media, the big banks, the corporations, the lobbyists that work for the corporations, that have created this network of untouchables, let's call it, faceless untouchables that you never see. They've lost the kudos, they've lost the power base, because we're pushing back in so many ways. If we weren't pushing back, then a small party like Reform would not be controlling 10 councils. And yesterday, more victories at council level. Mark Francois, the Tory MP, said of a recent by-election yesterday that they anticipated they'd win. Yeah, I think this one's in the bag. They thought they'd win. No, they didn't win. Reform won it. Reform won one in Sheffield. Sheffield, you couldn't get more left wing. It's happening all the time because people are sick of it. And if you haven't got top flight weaponry, if you haven't got the big stuff, you fight with the little stuff. You know, if you haven't got a gun, you fight with a pitchfork. And that's what we're doing. That's the equivalent at the council elections. We haven't got the big guns. We can't put more people in Parliament yet because we need the party that we're supporting, or hopefully the party that you're supporting, to get candidates to put in there. We're not ready yet, but what we can do, we can put candidates in at a lower level. And you've got to remember, controlling £20 billion worth of government spending is powerful because you can redirect it back onto local issues. which is something that's not been done for 20 years. Even our council money has been used for the greater good. We have a Prime Minister that's growing the state and diminishing small businesses. That will stop. We will push back. We won't put up with it. Because all legislation can be changed. It's a piece of paper. We don't need to put up with it. And now what's happened? We're pushing back on everything. We're not. You've only got to look on Keir Starmer's Twitter page. There are no positive comments. He put a tweet up yesterday. What it's about is irrelevant. But I noticed that the reach of the tweet was 900,000 people. He had 3,000 likes out of that. 3,000 people supported what he put in that tweet. Lelani Dowding put a comment on, completely contradicting the tweet and calling him the C word. It's her penchant. That had 7,000 likes, but only 27,000 views. So on a ratio, on a scale, that was more popular than his tweet. That's where your government sits. Because the people are listening to other people. And as I've said before, we have immense power. We've got the power. It's if we use it. And we are using it. Because people are having the courage to stand up and become candidates. People are having the courage to give up their free time and become branch managers. People are having the courage to go out and help canvass. That's donkey work. That is hard work. That's what I support. That's what I'm about. I think the party that couldn't be further away from, oh, it's just a one-man party, is Reform, because of all the volunteers they've attracted and the people that are now supporting them that used to, and you would have thought would have been lifelong Tories. They're not, because they want conservatism. They're not interested in the badge anymore. It's lost its kudos. They're interested in change, and the people are changing it. Nigel Farage or anybody can't do anything without us. It's us that's changing it. And we're changing it by being more vocal, by talking to people, by people noticing what's happening to the country. We've a long way to go on. There is a huge number of people that don't take any notice of politics online. That doesn't mean they don't think like we do. It just means they're not talking about it. And what will happen come that day when we can vote? And it's not all about the vote, actually. It's a cultural movement, is this. Come that day when we can vote, people will come out like they did with Brexit, unexpectedly, and slot a vote in a box. It won't be for the Tories and it won't be for Labour. It'll be for Reform. And there isn't time to set anything else up. Not that's moved as far forward as they have. Plus the cultural side. Young people don't trust the government. Young people are into things like Bitcoin and blockchain, which bypasses the central banks, which bypasses the media. It bypasses control. It's privately done. Young people are really into this. I mean, I'm not particularly, I don't understand enough about it. But nevertheless, that's all part of the pushback. That's all part of people rearranging themselves for a future that's not going to involve these people. Ursula von der Leyen, vote of no confidence. There's people lobbying to get her out, and the rest of the commission. Nobody trusts Starmer. His own people don't want him in. He's had to backtrack on everything he's set out to do. He made a bold statement months ago to Emily Maitlis, didn't he? Who do you prefer, she said. Do you prefer Davos or Westminster? And he said, oh, Davos all day long. Well, it's not working out too well for you, is it, preferring Davos? Because you can't really get anything passed because your own ministers, your own party and your own voters aren't supporting you. So no, you can't really bypass Westminster long term. You can only get away with it for a short period in time till your popularity plummets like a rocket coming back to Earth without a heat shield on. That's where you sit, laddo, soft lad. That's where you sit. You aren't one to follow. You aren't one that inspires anything. I don't look at you as the leader of my country and think, yes, this is a brilliant country. I want to fight for my country. You're in for such a shock if you go down that road. You will not get supported. Gone are the days when people did it for king and country. Those days are well over because we've seen what our king's like and nobody wants to fight for him. So The revolution is happening right now. It's a soft revolution. It's not one that needs muskets and guns. It's one that needs people to start paying attention, talking to other people and pushing back. And it's happening right now. It's political premature ejaculation what's gone on. They thought they had us with lockdown. They thought they had us, and they didn't. They never had us. And we, in Britain, are one of the most belligerent nations that pushes back. That's why we're the only ones that voted Brexit. You're not telling me that Hungary wouldn't get out of the EU if it could, being fined £1 million a day, on top of other fines. Of course it would. These people make laws up out of thin air. They're worse than the bloody Romans. I mean, look at the state of Europe and Great Britain, how easy it is to get in. It's more difficult to get in Glastonbury than it is to get in England. Bloody ridiculous. But people aren't putting up with it. People have had enough. And the situation, the overall situation might go on, but all the time the controls that they have are diminishing. Every single day we're pushing back. Don't forget to click subscribe. It does help with the reach of the channel. I do appreciate it.